Welcome to Conversation Kitchen. I'm Mariah Kessler with Hungry for Truth and the South Dakota Soybean Checkoff. We're teaming up with local food makers to learn how to create delicious recipes using soy and South Dakota ingredients. In today's episode, we're here with Chef Ellen.
Hi, welcome.
What are we making today?
Today we are going to do some pad thai and a mango pudding.
Awesome.
So, dinner and dessert.
Awesome, that's really exciting. So walk me through how we're getting started today.
All right, so we've got a pan with our oil in it, and soybean oil, like we were talking about, has a nice high smoke point to it. So it's a nice oil to use, especially if you want to use high heats without it starting on fire. So, hot oil. We're gonna cut up some green onions here.
So tell me a little bit about your background. There's some technique behind that. Where did that come from?
So I did go to culinary school back in 2014 out in Colorado, and I come from a restaurant family with a lot of steakhouses around the area. So it was always, the steak and potatoes kind of cooking that we were used to. And I went to culinary for kind of the savory stuff and thought I would just work in restaurants. And lo and behold, restaurants ended up not being my thing, and personal chef was. So.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So you specialize in a lot of specialty diets, so paying attention to food allergies, and what
Very
inspired
much
that?
So a lot of it, so we're going to throw these in the pan here. A lot of it was when I was working in actual restaurant kitchens, and when you're running a kitchen, every so often you have somebody come in the back and say, oh, hey, this table's got a peanut allergy or a gluten allergy. And a lot of times, especially when the gluten or the dairy allergies would come up, a lot of the other people in the kitchen wouldn't necessarily know what needed to change in the dish. And then I found out there's a lot of things that we were, taking out that didn't necessarily need to be there in the first place, or there was different ways to make these things. So I decided to really make my business focus around cooking for those diet and allergy concerns and giving them food that didn't feel like they were just missing a part of the dish.
Oh, wonderful.
We're gonna throw in some garlic with our green onion here.
That's great.
I know, right? You can smell it already.
Where do you go about sourcing your ingredients?
So there's several places. We partner at our store with Dakota Fresh Food Hub as well as Glory Garden, which are both local online farmers markets that coordinate with several farmers. So herbs, local meats, eggs, squash, those kinds of things you can find throughout the year, and they're just fantastic. We've also got extra firm tofu.
Tofu.
Yes.
Wonderful. Do you incorporate tofu in a lot of your diets?
We do a lot of vegan and vegetarian cooking, which will use tofu, and then there's different ways to use it that, like if you're doing a vegan lasagna, you can use a tofu as a substitute for ricotta as a cheese layer.
So tell me a little bit about what tofu actually is.
So tofu is a soybean product, and it's just basically a pressed block. So it's got a little bit of a spongy texture, and you can buy it from firm to soft. So firm are the ones that I like to use if I'm going to be kind of using it as a meat substitute, because it's still going to give you a nice little bite. It'll brown up really nicely. You can air fry them really crisp as well. But it's going to give you a big boost of protein as well as filling you up, meat sub on the dish, or just an extra layer of flavor in there. And what I like about it is it really takes on the flavors of what you cook it with. So in this case, we're cooking it with our soy sauce and garlic, and we'll throw in lime, so it'll kind of pick up all of those notes too. We're also going to throw in a little shrimp, because why not? And you could also use sliced pork loin, chicken, anything like that in this dish as well.
Well, coming from the soybean side, what's really fun about that is we're seeing soybean being used to make tofu, but we also see soybean meal being fed to livestock, and that includes cattle, that includes hogs, that includes poultry, and that also includes aquaculture in some cases.
So we've got our shrimp in here, we've got our tofu in here, we're gonna give it a stir, we're gonna put our sauce together. And in the meantime, we had our rice noodles. So these we just kind of let sit in hot water so that they would kind of loosen up, and they're gonna finish cooking in our sauce. So we've got brown sugar, soy sauce, and tamari is a good gluten-free substitute you can do that's still soy-based. You can usually just find it in the regular Asian section in the grocery store.
So what is the benefit of using soy-based foods?
There's a lot of flavor, but a lot of protein. So a lot of times when we're throwing, especially like the vegan and vegetarian dishes, things like edamame, tempeh, tofu, they're going to provide that, protein that you're not going to get elsewhere unless you want to eat a lot of other beans or those type of things. And some people just don't like that kind of flavor and want something a little bit different. All right, so then we've got a lime as well. I'm going to zest a little bit of this lime so I can get a really bright flavor out of it. And then I'm going to cut this in half. And then my trick when juicing it is to flip my microplane over. And that way I don't worry about seeds going in there.
Cool.
And before I throw the sauce in, I want to put the eggs in because I want to get them a little bit of a scramble. So we've got a few little egg chunks in there.
So when choosing your protein sources for different meals, what do you really look for?
A lot of it depends on what I'm feeling, you know, what goes with the dish. For a pad thai, I really like the light textures. I don't really like a heavy meat like a beef or a pork in it so much. But it really depends on what I'm feeling, what I've got available, what goes well with the flavors of the dish. All right, so we're not mixing it all up because I want that egg to sit a little bit and cook. So we're just kind of tilting our pan. So you can see how it's setting up in the corners there.
Mhm.
That's fantastic. Now we'll give it a mix.
Wonderful.
So we're going to have those chunks of egg in there. I'm going to throw in our noodles. And rice noodles come in a variety of widths. You can get ones that are really wide, kind of like a linguine. You can get ones that are really thin, like an angel hair. The thin ones are great for rice noodle bowls, which we do with edamame. And then we do the sauce on the side.
So tell me a little bit about where we're at today.
So we are at Chef Ellen, which is our storefront. We've got a couple gals that work here. We're an all-female kitchen. And this is just kind of a personal chef business taken to the masses. So it started out as an in-home only kind of meal prep business, and then when we wanted to feed more families and do kind of a pickup model, we expanded to a former cheese shop, and we do classes and we do cooking. We've got grab-and-go meals, but we also still do a lot of the specialty diet and allergy cooking for clients as well.
Oh, this smells really great. What are the next steps?
So, next steps. I'm going to let this shrimp finish cooking, let these noodles finish softening. And while that's going on, we've got a little bit of cilantro over here. We're going to cut a little bit more green onion.
So how do you build your recipes when you're starting from scratch?
So having a recipe hub is key. So we use a program that allows us to kind of pull in recipes and save recipes, type them in, edit them. So sometimes it'll be a client that says, okay, you know, I haven't had this dish in a while, but it's not something that I can currently have. And we can say, okay, well, let's import that and say, we need to take out this ingredient, add this one in. Okay, so our shrimp is looking cooked.
So how do you know when your shrimp is cooked?
When your shrimp is cooked, it's going to be opaque and pink, like this one. We've got one that's still cooking there where it still looks a little bit gray, and that gray will fade to pink as soon as it's done. Underestimating pan size is
It's pretty
a
common.
big obstacle. All right, but when they're done, throw a little bit on your plate. And underestimating plate size, apparently. Too.
I bet it'll taste wonderful. It doesn't matter how it looks if it tastes good, right?
Right. So, cilantro, peanut, and you've got pad thai.
Beautiful. Wow. That easy, huh?
That easy. You can let it sit. Those noodles continue to soak up the sauce as you go. So yeah, pretty simple dish to throw together. You can add extra vegetables and things as you see fit. One of my favorites is a can of like little baby corns.
Oh, good. So obviously we made a lot, too much for the pan. Well, how do you go about eating it the next day if that's what you're looking for?
I would throw it in just a regular container, throw it in the microwave the next day. The noodles will get a little bit softer if you're holding them. So the other way you can do it is if you're worried about having too much is to save the noodles off to the side, cook the sauce along with the proteins and then save that separately, and then just heat up your noodles and mix the sauce in day of.
Oh, wonderful. Awesome. Well, it smells delicious and I can't wait to try it.
All right, I'll give you this and I'll just go straight from the pan.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, a piece of tofu.
I better try some tofu.
Soft with the chew, but it picks up a lot of that saltiness from the soy sauce, so it's kind of like a little flavor bomb when you put it in your...
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. All right, Chef Ellen, we just finished making a delicious pad thai that included shrimp and tofu and some delicious noodles. So what are we making now to follow that up?
We are doing a mango and soy pudding for dessert.
Okay, how are we incorporating soy into pudding?
So this is a gelatin-based pudding. So instead of having to like cook down a thickener, the gelatin is going to be what sets it for us. So you can kind of switch up this recipe from frozen mango. You can do strawberries, a lot of different things. That soy milk is kind of our blank canvas to pair with what we will.
Wonderful. All right, what do we do first?
So start with gelatin in our bowl.
How much gelatin?
1 package, because when you buy gelatin, it comes with like 4 little
Okay.
packets. So you do 1 packet. Is typically what the recipes will call for. So pour that in your bowl, and then you're going to want to add a 1/2 cup of sugar. So here we go, 1/4 cup. And we're using an unsweetened soy milk, so we're going to add the sugar in here. And then we're going to add about a 1/2 cup of really hot water. And then you got to whisk over there if you want to just whisk that up until it's dissolved. So it's kind of like making Jell-O at home. You know, you start with the gelatin packet, you mix the hot water into it, and then you dissolve that. So that's what we're doing here. And then once we get that started mixed up, we're going to add in our soy milk. We've got our mango that we just threw through the food processor, and it's still a little chunky. I like that little bit of texture that it gives. So basically, all you have to do is make sure it's incorporated. You're probably good.
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 Okay.
All right, so I'm going to pour this back in here. So this is a super easy make-ahead recipe. You don't want to eat this one right away. You want to let it sit in the fridge at least an hour usually. The longer the better though.
Mhm.
So when I make it, I like to pour it in little individual containers
Mhm.
so that when you pull it out later, it looks super fancy. And then when you pull it out, it sets hard, and you top it with a little mango chunk or shredded coconut. If you're doing a little strawberry slice, a little syrup, and you've got your little individual desserts. You can make these the night before, way ahead in the day, so if you need a dessert, it's already ready to go.
Oh, wonderful. So what is the soy substituting in this, or why do you choose to use soy milk?
So for this one, I want the mango to shine through. So I don't want to use like a cream or an evaporated milk or something that's going to overwhelm that taste. I don't want to use like a nut milk because I don't want to bring in that taste to the dish. So soy milk is kind of like our blank slate where it's really going to provide that creamy texture and base that we want for the pudding while not overwhelming the taste of the mango.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for having us here today, Chef Ellen. We were able to create some awesome pad thai as well as a soy mango dessert. If you're looking for more delicious recipes, head to hungryfortruthsd.com and our social channels where we're serving up truth and more delicious recipes daily. Where can people connect with you, Ellen?
You can find us at 69th and Western in Sioux Falls. You can follow Chef Ellen on Facebook, or you can look up all of our stuff at siouxfallschef.com.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.